I do want to talk about academic accommodations because within, K through 12, we're constantly writing IEPs and 504s and having accommodations for the kids. And I want you to touch on this because you hear about college accommodations, but you don't hear interventions. Whereas K through 12, there's interventions that the teachers. Can you touch on that? Why do they not? Well, not why do they not, but it's not really interventions, right? It's accommodations.
There's no special ed in college, period. So in K through 12, there's special ed. There's special ed services. If you're on an IEP, you can get all kinds of services, speech therapy, OT, PT, you name it. That goes away in college. Again, it's a completely different set of laws. College, the burden in K through 12 on the school district is to help the student make effective progress. So the school district is responsible for ensuring that students progress and are successful. The emphasis is on success. In college, it's a much sort of lower bar. The emphasis is on access. Here's the curriculum. We're going to provide accommodations if you need it so you can access the curriculum. Maybe it's a recording of the lecture. Maybe it's, help physically accessing the building. But we're not doing anything to ensure that you're successful. Here's the curriculum. Here's the accommodations to help you access it. But it's up to you, the student, to be successful. And if you're not, that's on you. That's a different mindset from K through 12. That being said, as I said, some colleges do have more robust services like a learning support program that you can access, sometimes at an additional cost, to be successful. Or you hire your own folks from outside of the college, whether it's an academic coach, speech therapist, whatever it might be, to help you be successful. The other thing is there may be, even though what I just said makes it sound like, college is sort of less than high school or K through 12. There may be technology and accommodations and resources that you have not encountered or even heard of because the school district didn't have the resources that a college of 20,000 students does, because they have so many students. They've spent the money to buy this piece of technology. So there may be certain kinds of assistive technology available in high school. Again, screen readers, speech to text, text to speech, you name it, that maybe, certain technology that you didn't run across in high school.
So in college, you'll have these types of special kind of accommodations and technology that you didn't have access to, is what you're saying.
You might. Yeah, it depends on the college, but that certainly can happen. That's why those discussions with colleges are so important. It's a two-way conversation with them saying, well, what accommodations do you need? And you can also ask them, well, what assistive technology do you offer? What do you got? And some of that's maybe listed on their website, but certainly in a dialogue with them, you can find out more. Here's my challenges. What are some of the things that other students with similar challenges have accessed previously?
So let me ask you a question. So a lot of kids do best when a professor or a teacher, asks them more choice questions or allows them to write and read their answer, avoids open-ended, thought-provoking questions, especially as the individual is getting comfortable. These are things that you really can't write in a 504 in college, right?
Yeah. So to be clear, although you can get accommodations, you don't get modifications in college for the most part.
Exactly.
And in high school, in K through 12, there are accommodations, modifications, and services. If you're on an IEP, you may be getting accommodations, modifications, and services. But the school district doesn't necessarily kind of separate them out. They're all kind of mushed together. So you're getting accommodations. You get extra time on test or test in a distraction-reduced environment. And you get a modification that, unlike the other kids, you don't have to do as many problems, or you don't have to write the paper, or you don't have to do the presentation in front of the class. You can write a paper instead. The actual assignment is modified, a different assignment for you, the student with a disability. And you get services potentially, like I said, speech therapy, physical therapy, OT. In college, accommodations, for sure, that's, almost always available with the right documentation. Modifications, almost never. So it'd be very difficult and unusual to get sort of a different assignment or a lower bar, because the curriculum is what it is in college. It's, if it's a college introductory biology course or composition course, the curriculum is what it is. Every student has to meet that bar and meet that standard to get the grade and graduate college.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I did have a college student that was very much an advocate for themselves, and they had some expressive language challenges, and they actually wrote to their professors and said, hey, it would be really helpful when you ask me questions if you ask me more choice and direct questions and try not to ask me open-ended questions. And if it's okay, I'd like to write and read it to you because that's easier for me than to say it to you. And in every case that's happened where they did it, I guess, outside the 504 in college or the accommodations, the plan, it worked. So it
That's
helped.
great.
So it might be, so it might be right.
This touches on a few key things. One is the self-advocacy that we spoke about. So this student clearly was self-advocating for themselves. Super important. That's how you get your needs met, in part by self-advocating. Secondly, there's the culture of the college, right? So not all colleges are equally inclusive or welcoming of students who are different or students who have disabilities. And that's not something you can really find in a list. Parents have actually asked me to make a list of the colleges that are super inclusive and welcoming, but it is so subjective. But that is something still worth researching when you're on the campus. Talk to students and faculty. Talk to and try to get a read from other families on what has it been like for their kids to know, do professors go that extra mile? At some colleges, I think they do. At other colleges, not so much. At the end of the day, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, I think professors are human beings. They're individuals. So even though you may not have that accommodation formally on paper, officially, that you can say, hey, you have to give me this accommodation, you can always have that conversation on a case-by-case basis and say, hey, I know it's not written into my list of accommodations, but it would really help me if you could do this. Is that okay? And an individual professor is free to say, sure, that's no problem. On the flip side, if you do have an official accommodation, say testing in a separate room or something, and a professor ever gives you a hard time and says, oh no, I never do that. I don't do that with my students. You have rights. You can go back to the Disability Services Office and say, hey, help me out here. I'm running into an obstacle. Hopefully that's a very rare occurrence. I would, hope that it's more the other side where professors are even more accommodating than they are required to be.